My name is Mark. I'm 34 years old, and 3 weeks ago, my life turned into a cliché from a cheap soap opera. I found out that my wife Emily and my best friend Jake had been cheating on me for 2 years. I'm sitting in the empty house we chose together, trying to piece the shards of myself into something capable of breathing without feeling a sharp pain in my chest. I decided to write here because I can't talk about it out loud yet. I just need a stream of consciousness, and maybe a warning for those who trust as blindly as I did. Emily and I have been together since college. 12 years. She's a redhead, vibrant, with a sharp tongue and a laugh that filled any room. I'm an engineer, calm, rational. She called me her anchor. Jake has been with us from the beginning. He's a realtor, the life of the party, a guy who could talk to anyone and sell anything. We were a trio. I considered him a brother. He was the best man at our wedding. Everything started crumbling over a stupid, mundane thing. Our 12th anniversary was approaching. I wanted to plan a surprise, a trip back to that same mountain hotel where we spent our honeymoon. And, to add some spice, I decided to buy her some expensive lingerie. The problem was, I was clueless about her sizes and preferences in that department. Instead of risking a blind purchase, I decided to look for a hint. Emily was at work. I went into her wardrobe, to the drawer with her special lingerie. I just wanted to glance at the tags. But my fingers brushed against something hard, hidden under a stack of silk slips. It was an old cardboard shoebox. My rational self said, "Don't, it's personal." But a vague, animal instinct made me lift the lid. Inside, there was no lingerie. There were cards. Homemade, on thick, expensive paper, with ink drawings, raindrops on glass, silhouettes of trees. And words. Words about love, passion, longing. The handwriting wasn't mine. It was angular, sprawling. I recognized it immediately. It was Jake's. My heart just stopped, then began to pound so hard I could hear it in my ears. I frantically sifted through the cards, checking the dates. 2 years ago. A year ago. Last winter. The dates matched our guys' trips, my business trips, her, girls' nights, with friends. At the bottom was a photograph. Not digital, but printed, like an old Polaroid. They were on the porch of our cabin. Jake is sitting in the rocking chair, and Emily is on his lap. She's thrown her head back, laughing, and he's kissing her neck. In the background is the blanket I bought for that house. I remembered that day. I had flown out for my uncle's funeral. Emily said she was afraid to be alone in the city and would go to the cabin with her friend Claire. The world tilted under me. I sat down on the floor of the walk-in closet, pressing the photo to my chest. There was no anger at first. Only an absolute, all-consuming void. As if someone had turned off the light and sound. Then came a cold, methodical clarity. I photographed everything in the box with my phone. Carefully put it all back exactly as it was. Placed the box precisely where I found it. That same day, I bought a small motion-activated camera. Told Emily I had a work crisis and might have to pull an all-nighter at the office. In her eyes, I saw not disappointment, but something like relief. Or was that already paranoia? I set up the camera in the bedroom, aiming at the bed and the door. Hid it among the books on the shelf. The next day, I texted her I'd be working late. I sat in my car 3 blocks from home, connected to the camera's live feed. I waited for 5 hours. At exactly 5:13 p.m., she appeared in the frame. And him. They walked in together. They didn't pounce on each other. They talked. He showed her something on his phone, she laughed. Then he put his arm around her shoulders, she leaned into him, closing her eyes. It wasn't a friendly gesture, it was deeply intimate, polished by time. Then he kissed her, and pulled her onto the bed. Our bed. I watched. I recorded it all. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just watched as the 2 people I loved most in the world destroyed my past, present, and future with an indecent, laughing ease. They knew each other's minutiae. He knew how she liked her back scratched. She knew how he wrinkled his nose at a certain moment. This wasn't a passionate fling. This was routine. 2 years of routine. I didn't storm in. I just closed the laptop, started the car, and drove. I drove until I ran out of gas. I came to on a wasteland by some lake. It was the middle of the night. I sat there until dawn, staring at the black water. I returned in the early morning. Emily was asleep. I took a shower, changed, and sat in the living room armchair, waiting. She came out around 9. "Mark, you're back. I thought you were at the office," she said, stretching. She was wearing my old t-shirt. I looked at her and said in an utterly flat, lifeless voice, "How's Jake doing? Did he remember to take his socks from under our bed?" She went so pale her freckles stood out like bright dots on a white sheet. What are you talking about?" I opened the laptop and started the recording. No sound. The video was enough. She watched for about 10 seconds, then turned away, grabbing the back of the sofa. "Mark, this can be explained." "Explain," I said quietly. "Explain how this," I threw the printed cabin photo at her feet, "can be explained. Explain the cards. Explain 2 years of lies." "How long, Emily?" She broke down, hysterically, violently. Words poured out. "We grew apart, you're always working, I was lonely, Jake was just there, it got out of hand. I love you, it was a mistake." "How long?" I repeated, not raising my voice. 2 years, she exhaled. "A little more. 2 years. 24 months. Hundreds of lying words, kisses, touches. There were 3 logs in our hearth, and 2 of them were quietly burning behind my back." "Get out," I said. "Today. Take your things and disappear. I'm filing for divorce. If you try to contest anything, if your lawyer so much as sneezes in the wrong direction, this recording and everything else will be sent to your parents, your sister, your boss, and all our mutual friends. And tell Jake this. If he tries to contact me, a copy of everything goes to his girlfriend, Sarah." "Yes," I saw genuine shock flash in her eyes. "You didn't know? He has a girlfriend. For a month now. Seems he was looking to replace you while you were looking for thrills in our marital bed." That was the worst part. The realization that she had been betrayed too. That she wasn't the love of his life, but a convenient diversion. Her face twisted not just with shame, but with bitter, scalding insight. In that moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. She left 2 hours later. I didn't help her load the suitcases. I stood by the window and watched as the car we'd chosen together drove away with the ghost of my wife. Then Jake came. He called, pounded on the door, yelled, "Mark, bro, open up. Let's talk, man to man." I opened the door. Not all the way, leaving the chain on. We looked at each other through the gap. His usually confident, cocky face was pale and drawn. "Go away," I said. "Listen," she came onto me. I slammed the door. I haven't spoken to him since. The first days passed in a fog. I found a lawyer, Mr. Gregory, dry and pedantic. I wrote to Sarah, Jake's girlfriend. Sent her the evidence with a brief explanation. She replied with thanks and said she'd already dumped him. But the emptiness inside didn't fill. Work didn't save me. The house was full of ghosts. Every corner reminded me of her, of us, of them. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from Emily. A real, paper letter. She asked to meet, just to talk, face to face. The lawyer advised against it. But that Sunday, I still went to the cafe. I stood across the street and watched. She sat by the window, waiting for 3 hours. I saw hope leaving her. When she walked away, slumped, I didn't feel relief, but a new wave of anguish. The end was final and irrevocable for both of us. Then I drove to my father's garage. He's passed, but his workshop remained. There, under a tarp, gathering dust, was his old, unfinished Harley. I sat on the floor next to it and finally allowed myself to cry quietly. Then I loaded the motorcycle onto a trailer and brought it to my place. Taking apart the carburetor, taking measurements, searching for parts online, it became my lifeline. Mechanics don't betray. A bolt is either in place or it isn't. Everything is clear, everything is logical. In parallel, another, dirty war began. Jake, realizing he couldn't get to me emotionally, targeted my work. He spread rumors that I was unstable, even sent an anonymous tip to my boss. I was suspended from projects pending an internal review. It was his revenge. And then Sarah appeared. She came to my house. Not for a fight, for a talk. "I have dirt on him," she said bluntly. "Financial. He was involved in fraud with client money. I had access to his cloud, I downloaded documents. But I'm afraid to go forward alone." She was smart and calculating. And just as betrayed as I was. We formed a strange alliance, 2 people scorched by the same flame. With her data and my formal complaint for defamation, we went to a lawyer specializing in fraud. A quiet, paper war began, one that was meant to end very badly for Jake. But life loves to throw curveballs when you think it can't get worse. A month after the split, Emily called me. Not a text, a call. Her voice was strange, flat. "Mark, I need to see you." It's important. Talk on the phone. I can't. It's about a child. An icy wave rolled down my spine. What about a child? I'm pregnant. 7 weeks. In the silence that hung after those words, I only heard the beating of my own heart. And what, you want me to believe it's mine? I forced out. No, her voice trembled. I don't know whose it is. Ours. That was 2 weeks before you found out. And with him, it was after. I don't know, Mark. I'm confused, but I had to decide what to do. And I had to tell you. The world I had been painstakingly reassembling from the wreckage shattered again. A child, possibly mine, possibly his. The fruit of 2 years of betrayal and one desperate, absurd act between us when we were still pretending something could be fixed. It was too much. I hung up. That evening, I didn't go to the garage. I just sat in the dark. Thought about the child that might be mine but was conceived in an atmosphere of lies. Thought that even if it were mine, it would forever be tied to this nightmare. Thought that Emily would now be in my life forever through this child, if she kept it. A few days later, Sarah, with whom I'd stayed in contact over the Jake case, asked me out for coffee. Not to discuss business, just because. She said, "You look worse than the day I brought you the documents." I told her, not everything, but about the pregnancy. She listened in silence. "You know what's the most disgusting thing?" she said afterward. "That even after all this, you're not thinking about yourself right now, but about that child. And about her. You're still being that anchor. Maybe it's enough? Maybe it's time to think about Mark?" She was right. But how? The decision came on its own, in the form of another letter from Emily. She wrote that she had an abortion. "I can't raise a child whose conception is shrouded in so much pain for everyone. And I can't use it as a tether to you or to him. This is my mistake, and I'm correcting it alone. This is the last thing I kept from you. Now it's really over. For good. I'm sorry. Though I have no right to ask for that." There was no relief. Only a vast, cosmic fatigue. The episode was closed. The storyline concluded. The case against Jake, meanwhile, was gaining momentum. Our joint efforts with Sarah had attracted attention not just from lawyers, but from a very attentive journalist friend of Sarah's. An article about the successful realtor with dark secrets was in the works. His career was over, and soon came the official notice of a criminal fraud investigation being opened. The war was almost won, but it brought no joy. It was just the elimination of a threat. Sarah became a friend, a strange, traumatized, but deeply understanding one. We weren't a couple. We were two people in the same storm who had found in each other a quiet harbor to wait it out. We talked a lot. About trust, about fear, about how to tell real feelings from illusions. Sometimes we went to the movies. Once, she came to my garage and just sat there while I fiddled with the wiring. And I finished restoring the Harley. Almost. All that was left was painting the tank. I decided not to go with classic black, but a deep blue, the color of the night sky. My father would have been surprised, but I think he would have approved. This morning, I got a thick envelope in the mail. The divorce is finally final. The house is sold, proceeds divided. No claims. A clean slate. I took that envelope, went out to the garage, and started the motorcycle. The roar of the engine filled the space, pushing out the silence. I'm not going far. Maybe just down the highway to the lake and back. Just to feel the wind on my face and the motion forward. The story I wanted to tell is over. It was about the fall, the war, and the slow, agonizing climb out of the ashes. I didn't become stronger. I became different, more cautious, less naive, still lonely, but no longer mortally wounded. If you're reading this, finding yourself in a similar place, know this: the pain will pass. It won't disappear, it will become quieter. It will turn into a scar, not an open wound. And you will find your way to survive. Whether it's the gym, therapy, a new hobby, or an old motorcycle in your father's garage. The main thing is to stop being an anchor for someone who's ready to cut the rope. To learn to swim on your own.